Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that, and also apologies if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it can't be helped, and hopefully it's not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2025 related video here on my channel, and another installment in my sporadic series titled What We Know So Far, where I go through pretty much everything we as Eurovision fans know so far about the upcoming edition of the ESC, which, as we all know, will take place next May in Basel, Switzerland. As always, you are welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below. And as always, there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. I really wasn't planning on filming another What We Know So Far video until the very end of this year, or indeed the first week of 2025. But over the past 2 weeks or so, there's actually been quite a lot of news with regards to Eurovision 2025, mainly to do with national final lineups, so I'm going to be trying to cover as much of that as possible in this video you're watching now. It is entirely possible that I might forget some important information along the way, so apologies in advance if indeed that does happen. Very recently I did put something up on my community page here on YouTube asking you, the dear viewers, if there are any particular artists for national finals, or indeed songs that are out already, that you are especially excited for or enjoying at the moment. So do feel free to take a look at that and let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment. And do feel free to check out the joint Instagram page, link in the description as always, rajc.esc. I have been posting things up on there fairly frequently. I'll be posting something else very shortly, as a matter of fact. And if you'd like to know, before I mention it in a video, musicians that I'm excited for moving forwards with regards to national finals, that is the place to look, because there's various posts regarding that up on that page. So, I'm already starting to ramble, as you can tell. I have information in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything too important. I'm not going to go through all of the basic information because we've known it for a long time. It's in Basel. We know the dates are the 13th, 15th and 17th of May. We know it's going to be at the St. Jakobshalle. Very recently, the EBU confirmed that it will be 38 nations competing in Switzerland next spring. Of course, Montenegro are back. We already know their song. There was controversy there, of course, which we're all familiar with. No other returning countries like Bulgaria, Romania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Monaco, Turkey, nowhere to be found. But on the positive note, no countries have withdrawn, so that's something. I'm not going to go through all of the bidding process because what's the point? I've covered that previously. It's old news. The allocation draw is going to be on January the 28th next year. It will be streamed online, I'm sure. And I think we're going to be getting the artwork and the overall aesthetic for Eurovision 2025 fairly soon, perhaps before the end of this year. I did read something about it recently, but don't quote me on that. It could easily be into January when we find out details regarding the look and feel of next year's event. So, let's go through the participants. Albania up first, because they are first alphabetically. FIC 2024, or if you prefer, FIC 63, because it's the 63rd edition of it, will get going on December the 19th. There are 4 shows. It will conclude on December the 22nd. All shows are at the same place in Tirana. We've known the lineup for a while. The singers, the songs, the songwriters, and the songs are out. As far as I'm concerned, it is probably going to be a 3-horse race between Elvana Jata, who is arguably perhaps Albania's #1 female musician. She's definitely one of Albania's biggest musicians. She was in FIC a couple of years ago with Metana. There was a little bit of controversy there that she didn't win. People were saying she was robbed. She's in her late 30s. Anyway, she is back with a song called Carnaval. And the other 2 acts that I think could potentially do it are Lorenz Hasrama with Frim, and also Shkodra Elektronika with Sherm. And that's a male-female double act. I think it's probably between those 3 songs. But everybody knows that the voting in FIC can be all over the place, so I would not be surprised if it's somebody else entirely. The voting has changed ever so slightly for this edition of FIC. As it says here, juries will select the top 3 contestants, which will include awards for Best Lyrics and Critics' Choice. A separate category will determine the Albanian representative for Eurovision through jury and public voting. So the jury, once again, will have a say in who goes to Eurovision. For the past 2 years or so, it's been a sole public vote, but now the jury will have their say as well. Now, my favourite, having checked out the songs fairly recently, is Carnaval by Elvana. It's nothing original, but if Albania want to give themselves the best possible chance of a decent result in Basel, that really has to be the song that they send. But the fact that the juries are having their say makes me think that actually she's not going to come out on top, and there will be massive controversy if that's the case. This song, Carnaval, yes, as I just said, it's not doing anything incredibly original, but it feels so unfic, if you see what I mean. It feels so much more contemporary than anything we usually get from Albania, in all honesty. It's really refreshing. I think it should be the song that goes to Eurovision. However, I can see it also being one of the other 2 names that I mentioned a minute ago. I also don't mind Ardit Chuni, I don't mind Devis Sherahu, I don't mind... is it Jet that I don't mind? I think so. I don't mind Mal, who won FIC this time last year. His song is called Anti-Hero. It's a bit of a rock number. I don't mind that. If it wins, so be it. There are a few of the usual slow, dreary ballads that Albania just can't seem to get rid of. But I feel as though the quality of FIC, very slowly but surely, is getting better every year, and I feel as though I do pay more attention to it with every passing year as well. Anyway, although some Eurovision fans think that Elvana's song is very dated, and I completely understand those comments, I very much believe it is Albania's best shot of doing well next year. But we wait and see, of course. Now, Armenia, who I believe are up next, yes, they're having a national final. They're going back to their old format, but we don't know too many details about it yet. As for Australia, no idea what's really happening there. Their long-time commentators, though, have stepped down. As for Austria, I read something at least a month and a half ago now, saying that the internal selection that they're having is going along nicely, and there's a few names left in contention, but it's all gone quiet. I imagine we will probably find out more details in the new year. Azerbaijan, they will no doubt leave it until March. As for Belgium, they're having a national final. The organisation of Belgium's participation in Eurovision flits between the Dutch language broadcaster and the French language broadcaster, and it's back to the Dutch language broadcaster for 2025. Eurosong 2025 will be on February the 1st, which is also when Slovenia's national final, I believe, is taking place. We know the singers, but we know nothing about the songs or the songwriters yet. The artists were selected by an A&R team consisting of music experts from proposals submitted by record labels, artist managers and producers. The artists are Grace, Jelle Vrandale, Lemanu, Lise, Len, Mentissa, Red Sebastian and Stephanie Kaibo. And there is a post up on the joint Instagram page where I go through a couple of the artists that I'm particularly excited for. Jelle is one of them. Mentissa, on name alone, might be the one to beat. She was born in April 1999. She's been a coach on Belgium's version of The Voice. She's also appeared on The Voice of Holland, and she was part of the cast of The Voice Kids in Belgium. She's released one album, which, looking at this, did not chart very highly in her own country. But she does have quite a lot of followers on Spotify. Not that that really means much. But anyway, Mentissa might be a bit of a safe bet. But until the songs are out, we really don't know at all. That's Belgium. As for Croatia, the lineup is out. I've seen barely anybody talk about it. Dora 2025 will take place in February, 2 semi-finals and a final. 221 entries were received by the broadcaster, which is a record since Dora was relaunched in 2019. A jury made up of various professionals judged them. And how many songs are there exactly? I don't know. Quite a few. There's also a few backup entries. Artists of interest include Luka Nijetic, who's been in Dora a bunch of times. His song is called Yushina. We also have Magazine, who are a very famous Croatian band who formed in the late 70s. They've had lots of different lead singers. Lorena Buchan, who had Tower of Babylon and Drowning in Dora a couple of years ago. She is now the lead singer of this group. Plus, they have done Eurovision before in 1995, finishing in the top 10. So, definitely worth keeping an eye out for. Their song is called Ah! That's the name of it. We also have Marko Bošnjak, whose song is called Poison Cake. He's actually from Bosnia. That's where he was born. He's 20 years of age. He was in Dora a year or two ago with Molly Zanas, which was the runner-up, 2022. He was in that. And again, based on name alone, I'd say that he's got to be a serious contender here. We also have Nipple People. Yes, you heard me correctly. They are an electronic duo, and they're known for their interesting performances and secrecy, and also wearing quite flamboyant masks and costumes. If you take a look at their Instagram page, you'll definitely know what I'm on about. But when the lineup was announced and I was watching a few videos, their name kept coming up. I think a lot of Croatians are quite excited that they're involved. So Nipple People, who've released one album to date apparently, definitely worth keeping an eye out for. Znak is the name of their song. You've also got Die Die by Ogenj, and I have a feeling that that's going to be a rock type entry, perhaps. We've also got Laura Koyapieva, apologies, with NPC. I think that's going to be a rap type song, perhaps. We've got EOT with Bye Bye Bye. Marko Škugor with Štada Bogi Molim Ja. Is he the one that was in? Yes, he was part of Klapa Smora, who represented Croatia in 2013. There's a whole bunch of other people as well. But yes, Marko and Nipple People might be the ones to keep an eye out for there. As for Cyprus, we've known for a very long time that it's 23-year-old Nicosia-born Theo Evan, whose music is pop and reggaeton in style. He's released a bunch of singles, no albums or EPs yet looking at this. We will find out more about his entry in the new year. As for Czechia, very recently it was announced that Adonis, real name Adam Pavlovchin, is going to represent Czechia in Eurovision next May. He's 29, from Slovakia, studied in England. He's also a bit of a dancer, and he's also won Czechia's version of Superstar, which is a bit like American Idol, that sort of thing. He's also a bit of an activist. He's been called a queer icon. He lives in Prague. He's released 3 albums. Songs include Overthink and Intergalactic Rodeo. Some people have compared his music to that of Duncan Lawrence's, so make of that what you will. I'm just saying what I've seen online within the past couple of days. We will get his song fairly soon. No national final, of course, for Czechia this time around. As for Denmark, March the 1st for DMGP. I did read some time ago that a former Eurovision representative will be in that lineup. So I assume right now the Danish broadcaster have already got the list of names and songs and what have you ready to go. So it will only be a matter of time until we find out that lineup too. But March the 1st, that's relatively late for Denmark. but that's when their national final will take place, and I imagine it will be just the one show again, but don't quote me on that. As for Estonia, one show only on February the 15th of Eesti Laul. The songs are out. I am sure you have all heard them by now. I've gone through them. It says here that there were 175 submissions and a 34-member jury selected 15 of them, plus an additional 20 songs for a wildcard selection. For the wildcard selection, the public will be able to vote on the Radio 2 website starting on December the 28th. The winner and the 16th finalist will be announced on January the 6th. So if I'm able to vote, that's what I'll be doing around New Year. As for the lineup, well, it's not bad. I don't think the quality is outstanding, but then again, the quality of most national finals is not outstanding. But we do have a few good songs. Tommy Cash with Espresso Macchiato is the clear favourite as far as I'm concerned. I think he's going to take some stopping. On name alone, he may as well be handed the trophy. Now, he is a very big star. He's well known outside of Estonia. He's 33, from Tallinn, known for his music videos and raunchy lyrical themes. I think he's worked with Karja at some point, but don't quote me on that. He's released 2 albums, although not for a few years. Songs include Tango, Little Molly, and Surf. Indeed. He has worked with Karja. He's also worked with Charlie XCX and Little Big. Definitely the one to beat as far as I'm concerned. Espresso Macchiato, it feels like a very tongue-in-cheek song, and I think it's going to be more about the performance than the actual track itself. But we wait and see. My favourite, and I do need to go through them again admittedly, is Armageddon by Minimal Wind. They were the runners-up out of nowhere a few years ago. That's a really lovely song. If it was in the Latvian selection, people would be very excited about it. But for some reason, it's not garnering quite as much attention in the Estonian selection. We also have Frozen by Janek. He's been involved before, and once again, his entry, which is called Frozen, is co-composed with 2015 Norwegian representative Kjetil Mørland. You've also got Elisa, who has come back. We have a song by Felin, solo anthem, which reminds me very much of Leslie Roy's song Story of My Life, which would have been the Irish entry at Eurovision in 2020. This sort of rock chick type number. You've also got 2002 representative Anna Salena, Tomorrow Never Comes by Ant, who I think is in with a very good shot of winning, and Maetea Sind by Andrei Zevakin featuring Carita, which I wish I liked a bit more. It's just a bit too shouty for my liking, but I will listen to it again in due course, and no doubt give you my thoughts on more of these songs moving forwards. But that is the Estonian lineup. Not bad, but not incredible either. As for Finland, I imagine it will be in the new year, possibly the first week of next year, when we will find out the lineup for UNK 2025, which will take place on February the 8th. Haven't really looked at any of the details regarding it, but it will be here before you know it. As for France, we know nothing. It's an internal selection, and that's about the extent of it. Maybe by the end of this year we will have a name, but I don't know. Georgia, don't know what's happening there, so we'll move on to Germany. Germany's selection is going to be on March the 1st. I very much believe, I think I've said this previously, but I can't quite recall. I believe Stefan Raab, does it say so here? I believe he's being involved again at some point, which I think is a very good thing. It says here, Chefsache ESC 2025, Wer singt für Deutschland? Top priority. Who sings for Germany? Well, will be the competition that will select the German entry, blah blah blah. There will be 2 heats, a semi-final and a final, February the 14th and then March the 1st. Both of these shows will be staged in Goethe, and Barbara Schöneberger, who is a safe pair of hands, will be hosting those events. It says here, In each of the 2 heats, 12 of the 24 competing acts will compete. A maximum of 14 acts will be selected to proceed to the semi-final. Oh, there's 2 heats, a semi-final and a final. My apologies. So it is more than 2 shows. Okay, that makes sense. Apologies. Yes, a maximum of 14 acts will be selected to proceed to the semi-final, where 9 acts will be selected to proceed to the final. The results of the heats and semi-final shows will be determined by an expert jury including Stefan Raab, the man himself, the 2011 co-host, the writer of the 2000 entry. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was, and he was the performer of it. No, he wasn't. What am I on about? Yes, he was. It was Gildo Horn in 1998, and he wrote that song, and then he was front and centre in 2000, and he also wrote the 2004 entry, which is completely different from the song he had in 2000. My God, what a ramble. My apologies. Anyway, the results in the final will be determined entirely by public voting. 3,281 applications were received, which I think is a damn good number. Out of that lot, there's got to be something capable of winning Eurovision. Let's be honest. But we will wait and find out what those songs are going to be like, possibly in the new year. As for Greece, a national final is coming up on January the 29th. We do not know the lineup yet, although I did see something online not so long ago. Whether it was legitimate or not, I don't know. And it was a list of names, a long list of names. So I assume they're the ones in contention, but I don't know. As for Iceland, their national final song for Keppnin will take place in February. I imagine the format will be staying the same. 2 shows, 2 qualifiers from each show, and a wild card. 5 songs in the final, jury and public voting, top 2 into a super final, sole public voting determines the winner. Of course, there was controversy earlier this year. Bashar, I believe, is trying again, so you may as well put a bit of money on him potentially being the Icelandic representative next year in Basel, but we wait and see. As for Ireland, their national selection will be in February. I don't think we know much else about it yet, but there is definitely going to be more interest in Ireland with regards to Eurovision next year, because Bambi Thug did so well in Malmö all those months ago, earlier this year. So that's the situation with Ireland. I think, if anything, they will be looking to take another gamble, another risk moving forwards. As for Israel, their national selection is taking place right now. Nobody's talking about it, which I have to say is not a shock. It's Hakok Hav Haba. We will find out the representative and the song early next year. There's been so many shows already, it's unbelievable. I've never followed this. Yeah, it's a long-winded production. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, as for Italy, we know the lineup. We haven't heard the songs yet. I don't think we even know the song titles. But Sanremo, of course, which is not strictly speaking a national final, but may as well be, because the winner usually goes to Eurovision, will take place in February. I'm taking a look at it now. Here we go. Yes, between February the 11th and February the 15th at the Teatro Ariston. The lineup was announced recently. There's also the Sanremo Giovanni section, which concludes shortly on December the 18th. Individuals include Settembre, Angelica Bove and Alex Weiser. As for the big artists section, the real deal, we have Achille Lauro, Elodie, Fedez, who is a huge star in Italy, Francesca Michelin, Francesco Gabbani, Georgia, huge name, The Colours, Moda, Noemi, Rocco Hunt, Rose Villain, Simone Cristicci, a former Sanremo winner, Willy Peyote. Wow, big names everywhere you look, and you know that when these songs come out, the vast majority of them are going to be absolutely top-notch. I don't think we need to worry about Italy whatsoever. Very excited for Sanremo next year. As for Latvia, the songs are out, and they've been out for a while. February the 8th for the final of Supernova. There's going to be a semi-final on February the 1st. 96 entries were submitted, and a jury decided on 20, and they were announced on November the 20th. You may well have seen my video where I reacted to snippets of them. I have since revisited them. My favourite is... who is it? It's Bel Tempo and Legstina with The Water. Stands no chance of winning, but I really, really enjoyed that one, and I'd like to see it do well. It is my favourite. I also don't mind Emilia with Heartbeat. I don't mind Zelts by Cobra. That's really a dark horse. I don't mind Lovable by Marta, Burman Laimi by Tautu Meitas, who I think are in with a great shot, and Ligo by the Ludwig. I would say it's a two-horse race at the moment between Citizeni and the Ludwig. I think it's probably going to be one of those acts who wins Supernova. Of course, I could be wrong, and opinions on other tracks might change moving forwards. Another act might suddenly come up on the rails. We'll have to wait and see, but that's the situation with Latvia. As for Lithuania, the lineup is out. I've seen nobody really talk about it, but Eurovisia.lt will get going in the new year. There are 5 semi-finals, for no apparent reason, far too many, beginning on January the 11th, and then the final is on February the 15th. Some of the songs are actually out, because I've heard one of them. Somebody's already withdrawn. Artists include Anyanya, and I want to say that he won The Voice in Lithuania, but I really could be wrong with that, so don't quote me on it. We have Black Biceps, who are a sort of rock ska group. Jebrasi is back. We have Ieva, the 2018 representative. We have Lion Seka, who's actually Alan Chico, who's been involved before. We have Matt Len, who's been involved before. We have Petunia, who's been involved before. Love of My Life a few years ago was absolutely smashing. San Francisco, Victoria Faith, and the 2014 representative Villager, alongside many others. So like I said, some of these songs, I think it's 3 or 4 at the moment, are out. One of them is The Bluest Bell by Sophie Ali. I have heard that song. It's a very gentle, sweet number. All of the others will be out in due course. It says here, the semi-finals are pre-recorded. Unlike last year, jury members will comment on the contestants' performances in all shows. The semi-finals, blah, 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 will consist of 9 songs. Each semi-final will have 9 songs in it. The top 2 will go through to the final. The final will be live in Kaunas. A combination of jury voting and public voting will select 3 songs for a super final, where pure public voting will determine Lithuania's representative in Basel next spring. As for Luxembourg, we've known the lineup for a while. The songs are out within the next few days. There's not many artists involved. Their national selection is called Luxembourg Song Contest 2025. It's going to take place on January the 25th. The lineup consists of Laura Thorne, Luzak, Mana, One Last Time, who were involved earlier this year, or last year, whenever Luxembourg's national selection was for 2024, Rafaela, Rhythmic Soulwave, and 0.5. Without knowing a single thing about the songs, if I was a gambling man, I would probably be putting money on Rhythmic Soulwave. But we wait and see. As for Malta, we know the lineup. Snippets of the songs are out. I have heard them, but I am waiting until we get more snippets, if you see what I mean, before filming a snippets reaction video. But anyway, Malta's selection, MESC, is going to take place on February the 4th, 6th, and then the final will be on February the 8th. There are 24 names, I believe it is. Yes, indeed. There was a songwriting camp, which might explain why some of the songwriters seem to be Scandinavian. Going down that route, it is what it is. We have a few familiar names. We have JVF, which is a trio. Jessica Muscat is there. Fabrizio Faniello is there. Can't quite remember the name of the other person, but it's a bit of a supergroup, let's put it that way. We also have Kelsey Belante with 365, or 365, whatever. She was part of Urba, who were in the Maltese selection for 2024. We have the 2012 representative Kurt Kalea. We have Stefan Galea trying again. Victoria Shiberas, who I found out not so long ago, was trying for Miss World Malta or something like that, which is very impressive. We also have Miriana Conte, Cantera with Lala Rata Takeke, Lala Rata Kaboom. That's the name of their song. Very interesting, some of their previous material. I think they're probably in with a very good shot. We also have Hayley Atsopardi, who's back with Whistleblower, and that song is co-written by Tom Hugo of Kano, who has also co-written the song for JVF. And Melanie Weber, who's been in Melfest, has co-written the song for the Adria Twins. Patrick Jean, who's been in Melfest, has co-written the song for Kelsey Attard. Absolutely. And those songs will be out in full at some point fairly soon. What I've heard is mildly promising. Let's put it that way. As for Moldova, their national selection will take place at the end of February. We don't really know much about it, but I assume there will be that long-winded, not-so-great audition round phase, and then we'll have the actual final. As for Montenegro, well, what a shite show. Their national final, Monty Song, took place at some point. It was several weeks ago, and we had artists including Milena Vucic, Kate, Isak Shabanovic, my favourite if you were wondering, Bend 9, and so on. And the winner, thanks to a combination of jury and public voting, was Neo Noen with Clickbait. And then it turns out that they'd actually performed a version of this song, I believe it was in 2023. So there was a bit of a complication here because the Eurovision rules state you can't have a song for Eurovision that's been out or performed or promoted or whatever before September the 1st of any given year. The Montenegrin broadcaster were crapping themselves a little bit about this, and then the band, to avoid more controversy, decided to pull out of being Montenegro's representatives in Basel next spring, and instead the runner-up is going somebody who's been at Eurovision before, back in 2013, Nina Žižić, who was born in April 1985. Her song is called Dobro Došli. It's a perfectly fine ballad. I imagine it will be revamped a little bit for Eurovision. She was the jury winner, but was 4th in the public vote. Very poor scores for all of the songs, really, in the Montenegro national final. Barjak, who won the public vote, just 476 votes, which I think is really disappointing. Anyway, Emily DeForest thought that Clickbait was the best of the bunch, which I think is very surprising. You also had Elena Risteska and Nusha Derenda as part of the jury, people who've been at Eurovision before. But there we go. All this controversy, really, the organisers should have done their research. You should be looking to make sure that every song is absolutely able to take part. And I don't know how this video surfaced of a previous performance of Clickbait. It is what it is. The dust has now settled. It is going to be Nina Žižić in Basel next year. As for the Netherlands, we don't know much yet, but I believe the internal selection process is going on as I speak to you now, and we may find out an artist before the end of this year. Who knows? As for Norway, February the 15th for MGP. If I'm right in thinking, I think it's just the one show. Yes, indeed. There's been a songwriting camp, because why not? And the list of entries will be announced on January the 16th. So there you go. Always worth keeping an eye on Norway. And they need to bounce back after finishing last, disgracefully, in Sweden earlier this year. Can't believe that happened. As for Poland, February the 14th for them. I believe it is a national final, but I don't really know much else than that, I'm afraid. As for Portugal, March the 8th for Festival de Canção. It is usually one of the last selections in Europe. We know the songwriters, and some of the songwriters are the actual singers as well. So I'm looking at it here. Henke absolutely worth keeping an eye out for, is involved. We also have Capital da Bulgaria, who is performing their own song. Fernando Daniel is a songwriter, been involved before. Euclides, been involved before, might well be singing their own song. Jessica Pina, who is a bit of a jazzy musician. I'm excited to see if it's her performing her own song. And we've also got Emmy Curl, who I believe is Catalina Miranda, who was the runner-up behind Claudia Pascual in 2018. But we will find out more from Portugal in due course, of course. As for San Marino, February the 22nd for their national final, Une Voce per San Marino. It is the most long-winded, not complicated, but drawn-out process imaginable. There's been shows and auditions and things happening everywhere. Musicians from all corners are taking part, and I really haven't been following it at all. We will find out more soon. As for Serbia, the lineup is out. I've barely seen anybody talk about it. March the 1st for the final of Pesma za Eurovision 2025, all shows in Belgrade. February 25th and 27th, March the 1st for the final. The lineup includes Bojana and David. Bojana and David were there in the Serbian selection earlier this year, and Bojana has represented her country at Junior Eurovision 2. We have Butch Cassidy, a group. I think they're a pretty big deal. Their song is called Tushne Ljubavi. We have Gifts and Roses, Harem Girls, Maya Nikolic, Mimi Mercedes, who is a quite well-known rap musician in Serbia. We have Prince, who was the runner-up, I believe, a few years ago. We have Vukela, who's a very interesting-looking musician. Tanya Banyamin, Sedlar, Ivana Sturbac, Izkaz. I think they're going to have quite a fun, raucous number called Trendsetter. So yes, I've done my research. Again, if you want to know the artists I'm most excited for, check out the joint Instagram page, link in the description. The songs will be out before you know it. There's 30 of them. There'll be 16 in the final. Jury and public voting will determine the winner. As for Slovenia, the lineup was announced earlier today at the time of recording. It looks like it could be a two-horse race between Klemen Schlakonia and July Jones, who has been hinting at coming back to try to represent Slovenia on social media for a few months. Her song is called New Religion. I'm already saying it might be the one to beat, but Klemen, who is 39, he has hosted EMA. There is a video of him doing a medley of all of Slovenia's entries in the past. It's a few years old now, but it's worth taking a look at because he's also a bit of a comedian, and he has also impersonated Pope Francis, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, Angela Merkel, and others. He has released various parodies, lots of parodies over the years, albeit quite a long time ago, and I think a lot of his music is quite tongue-in-cheek, very spoofy, quite comical in style. Golden Dump the Trump Hump, for example. He is very popular, so do not rule out him winning. With how much time do we have left? But July Jones is also a very serious contender. We've also got Anna, who was on Slovenia's Got Talent. We have Rai or Ray, who are a bit of a rock group. Their song is called Frederick's Dead, which is unfortunate. And we also have other individuals, including Astrid and the Scandals. Astrid was involved in EMA a couple of years ago, and Polar Ace, who has a song called Kind. There are others. 114 entries were submitted to the broadcaster, and a panel selected these 12. And the final will be on February the 1st. As for Spain, the songs are out very soon. Benidorm Fest takes place at the end of January, with the final on February the 1st, which is going to be a very busy day. The lineup is relatively interesting. Nice to see that pretty much every songwriter is Spanish, if not all of them. We have Melody, who was a bit of a child star. I'm interested for her song Esa Diva. We also have Daniela Blasco, La Chispa, Sonia and Selena. If I was a gambling man, based on vibes alone, I would say that Melody, possibly Daniela Blasco, and certainly Carla Frigo are the ones to keep an eye out for. Carla, I think, is relatively new on the scene. She's definitely a rising star, is what I'm trying to say. And I can't quite remember for sure, but I think she's got several million TikTok followers. And she is just dancing her ass off in those clips. So expect a song full of choreography. It's called Besame, and she has co-written it. So we will be hearing those songs, all of them, within the next 2 weeks or so. I can't remember the exact date. Anyway, Sweden. We know the lineup. The songs will be out as and when. March the 8th for the final. Of course, all of the shows will be in a different Swedish location. The final in Stockholm. In terms of the artists that I'm interested in, well, we have Arvingarna back again, just for the hell of it. Dolly Style are back. Ella Tiritiello has a song co-written by Loreen, so it's worth keeping an eye on her. We have John Lundvik, who's back. We have Clara Hammarström, who has to be a very serious contender here. We have Maja Ivarsson, lead singer of The Sounds, which is great. We have Måns Zelmerlöw, because he can't stay away, although this is his first entry in Melfest for a long time. Malu Pritz is back. Scarlett, who are one of the favourites, surely, with Sweet and Psycho. Tennessee Tears, and a whole bunch of other interesting names as well. Annika Vicky Halder is back. Andreas Lundstedt is back. It's been about 30 years since he was first involved. Anyway, we don't need to worry about Melfest for a number of weeks yet. As for Switzerland, the host nation, we don't know much. Ukraine, I've seen nobody talk about the fact that we do know the long list for Vidbeer 2025. I don't have the lineup in front of me, but we have Kayat, or Kayat, who had a song the other year, Call for Love. We have Krilata, who was knocked out in the wildcard round for the 2024 edition of Vidbeer. I can't remember anybody else. But once we have the shortlist, the actual Vidbeer lineup, I will put a post up on Instagram, all being well. Definitely, I think, based on what I was looking at very recently, Ukraine are definitely going to try and win next year, no doubt about it, once again. And as for the UK, we know nothing. I'm really hoping that it's going to be an up-and-coming band with a female lead singer, perhaps. I'm hoping that it's going to be a somewhat risky entry, not in terms of Electro Velvet or Bambi Thug necessarily, but it needs to be something that feels fresh and original and quite unique, and just needs to have that little sprinkling of magic, in the way that The Code had a bit of a sprinkling of magic for Nemo earlier this year. Anyway, that's all I've really got to say. It's been a big ramble, and I'm sure I've forgotten plenty of other bits and pieces as well. If you'd like to know the Slovenian artists I'm excited for, that post will be up on Instagram shortly. And that's really all I've got to say. Hopefully the quality wasn't too bad. I will be back with another video fairly soon. And I would just like to make the point, because I have discussed this previously, better quality videos hopefully will be coming at the start of 2025, all being well. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, feel free to leave your thoughts down below. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.